Good morning, students. Today I am going to explain the third lesson of history, movement towards a new world. I am going to explain the following topics. Global trends between two world wars, fascism in Italy, Nazism in Germany, militarism in Japan, and the global depression. Global trends between the two world wars. In the second lesson, you have studied about the First World War, and in between the First World War was from 1914 to 1919, and the Second World War was from 1939 to 1945. So, in between, certain incidents occurred in the world, the conditions of the world that what were the conditions of the world that you are going to study. So during the First World War, countries of the world had reduced the production of basic necessities. As a result, the problems like starvation, unemployment, poverty, strike, lockout, etc., raised their head. So people became poor. Economically, they became poor. Economically means in the matter of money, they did not have the money and they became very poor. So the government which came after that First World War, they could not solve the problems of the people. They could not improve the conditions of the people, and the people had lost their faith in democracy. During that time, that dictatorship of form of a government was established in some of the countries. Dictatorship means a rule by single ruler, single person, and whatever he say, that is the rule or law of the country. Nobody can question the authority of the dictators. He enjoyed unlimited powers. So in Italy and Germany, dictatorship was established, and during that time, a series of incidents occurred in the world. Like a fascist government was established in Italy, Nazist government was established in Germany, then militarism was established in Japan, and at the same time in 1929 to 32, global depression occurred. So, what were the circumstances that led to that Second World War? What were the that things happened in the world between the two world wars? First one is that after the First World War, people became very poor. Then second one is that the government which came after the First World War, they could not solve the problems of the people, that they were unsuccessful in improving the conditions of the people. Then third one is that people had lost their faith in democracy. And fourth one is that a dictatorship of a government was established in some of the countries. Dictatorship means a rule by the single person, and whatever he say, that is the rule or law of the country, and he has unlimited powers. Nobody could question the authority of the dictator. Then during this period, a series of incidents occurred in the world. Like fascism was established in Italy, Nazism was established in Germany, then militarism was established in Japan, then global depression occurred in 1929 to 1932. Then fascism in Italy. So that in the First World War we have studied that Italy was on the side of that winning nation. The First World War was between that Allied nations and the Axis nations. So in the First World War, that who were the winners? Allied nations were the winners. So America, England, France, and Italy was also on the side of Allied nations. So and Italy in that First World War, Italy had to spend near about $12 billion and had lost 6 lakhs of Italian soldiers. And after the First World War came to an end by the Treaty of Versailles. So Germany was made responsible for that First World War, and Germany had to pay $6.5 billion, and it was divided and distributed among the winning nations. And this America, France, England, they distributed that many of the provinces of Germany, but they did not give any of the territories to that Italy. And Italy wanted to have a certain places of Germany, but they did not get those places. So the people of Italy were very angry and frustrated, bored. and means their nationalistic feeling was hurt. That Italians, people of Italy, they considered that the insult was the government of Italy was responsible for this insult. So they wanted to take revenge of this insult as early as possible. So in order to rescue or save Italy from that situation, a young person came. His name was Benito Mussolini, and he had established that fascist party. So that how that a fascist party come into power. So in the First World War, Italy was on the side of allied nations, the winning nations. Italy had to spend that of $12 billion and had lost that 6 lakh soldiers. And the winning nations, they had taken the choicest territories, but they did not give any of the territories to Italy. So the people of Italy were angry and frustrated, and it's a nationalistic feeling was hurt. Italians thought that the government of Italy was responsible for this. They wanted to take a revenge. Badala saying no, that of this insult as early as possible. So during that time, in order to protect Italy from that situation, a young man came. His name was Benito Mussolini, and he had established that a fascist party. Then the word fascism originated from that Italian word fascimo or fascism. That means control of the state on all the things. That means that the country has a control on all the things. Nobody can question the authority of the kings, of the that leader of the state. And the Mussolini had adopted bundle of sticks and an axe as the symbol of his party. Symbol, that for example, that BJP is having the symbol of a lotus, Congress is having the symbol of hand, like that. The symbol of a fascist party was a bundle of sticks and an axe. This bundle of stick and an axe, it was the symbol of a Roman emperors. In ancient time, there was a very great and rich empire was there, and its name was a Rome. And that this it was the symbol of that Roman emperor. So he had adopted that symbol of a Roman emperor, bundle of stick and axe as the symbol of his party. And his maxim means a nara, where that one party and one leader. And he gave a military training to that members of this party, and the members of this party, they wore that black uniform. And after coming into power, he had captured means he had taken by force Rhodes and the Dotkin Islands of from Turkey, then Albania, Abyssinia, and a few port in 1924. So after that, after these victories, so which places were captured by Mussolini? Rhodes, Dotkin from Turkey, Albania, Abyssinia, and a few port in 1924. So after these victories, Mussolini had cut all the relations with the League of Nations. So at the end of the First World War, in order to establish a peace and security in the world, an organization was established. Its name was the League of Nations. So one of the condition of a League of Nations is that those who are the members of a League of Nations, they could not capture or they could not attack other countries. So when he captured all these places, what he did, he cut all the relations with that League of Nations. Then then they formed a new group that came to be called the Rome, Berlin, Tokyo axis. Rome is the capital of Italy, Berlin is the capital of Germany, and Tokyo is the capital of Japan. So these three countries, Germany, Italy, and Japan, they formed a group that came to be called the Rome, Berlin, Tokyo axis, and he became the member of the, Italy became the member of that Rome, Berlin, Tokyo axis. So from which word that fascism came? It came from the Italian word fascism or basis. What is the meaning of that word? Control of the state on all the things. What was the symbol of the fascist party? Bundle of sticks and an axe. It was the symbol of whom? That Roman emperor. That what was the maxim of that fascist party? One party, one leader. And what was the color of the uniform wore by the members of this party? Black uniform. And which were the places captured by that Mussolini? Rhodes and Dotkins islands from Turkey, Albania, Abyssinia, and a Fiume port in 1924. Then after these victories, he cut all his relations with the League of Nations, and he had joined the Rome, Berlin, Tokyo axis. So that is about a fascism. So how that fascism was established in that Germany after that First World War. That Germany, how that fascism was established in Italy after the First World War. Italy, during the First World War, Italy was on the side of winning nations, and after that war, that Germany was distributed among the winning nations, but Italy was ignored. So the Italians were that angry and frustrated. They wanted to take a revenge of this. And during that time, a young man came, that Benito Mussolini, and he had established that fascist party. The word fascism is originated from the Italian word fascimo or faces. What is the meaning of the word? Control of the state on all the things. And what was the symbol of that fascist party? Bundle of sticks and an axe. And what was the maxim of Mussolini? One party, one leader. And what was the color of the uniform worn by the members of that fascist party? Black uniform. And which were the places captured by Mussolini? Rhodes and Dotkins from that Turkey, Albania, Abyssinia, and a Fiume port in 1924. And after these victories, he cut all the relations with the League of Nations and joined Rome, Berlin, that Tokyo axis. So that was one of the reason that for that Second World War. Then that here I showed that first one is a symbol of that fascist party, bundle of stick and an axe. Then next one showed where that next one showed where that this roads roads and dot canes. This one is a Rhodes, then this one is a Dotkins, this one is Albania, captured by that Mussolini, then that Abyssinia, then Fiume ports. So this was the symbol of the party, that a bundle of sticks, this is that axe. So these places were captured by that Mussolini. This one Rhodes, then this one Dotkins, then this one Albania, then this one Abyssinia, and this one Fiume port. The next one, Nazism in Germany. And we have seen in the First World War that Allied nations blamed that Germany was responsible for the First World War. So they collected that 6.5 billion from Germany, and most of its provinces were distributed among the Allied nations. So Germany was economically in the matter of money, and Germany was completely destroyed or that ruined. And Paris Peace Treaty, peace treaty or process had compelled Germany to sign the Treaty of Versailles. So the First World War came to an end by the Treaty of Versailles. So by which treaty the First World War came to an end? By the Treaty of Versailles. And Germany was completely ruined. Germany had to pay $6.5 billion, and most of its places were distributed among the that are allied nations. So the people of Germany were very extremely angry with this unjust treaty of Versailles. And in order to help Germany from this, Adolf Hitler, he joined the National Socialist German Workers' Party in 1990. And this National Socialist German Workers' Party later came to be called Nazi Party. So that, how did that Germany how did that Nazi party formed? That Germany in the First World War, Germany had lost the First World War, and it was economically ruined. That according to the Treaty of Versailles, that Germany had to pay $6.5 billion, and most of its provinces were distributed among the allied nations. So Germany was extremely angry with this treaty, and in order to save Germany from this, Adolf Hitler Hitler joined that National Socialist German Workers' Party in 1990, and that party later came to be called Nazi Party. So, what was the philosophy of this Nazi Party? Nationalism and socialism. Nationalism means a love for one's country, ready to sacrifice anything for the country, even ready to sacrifice their life for the country is called a nationalism. Socialism means that equality of all in social and economic field. That means all are equal in the society in the matter of money in the society also. Ideology based on equality for all, both in social and economic field is called a socialism. So what was the philosophy of Nazi party? Nationalism and socialism. And then after the death of that German president Hindenburg, Hitler became the president and he established his dictatorial rule. Dictatorial rule, already I said that rule by single ruler, nobody can question the authority of the dictators. He had unlimited powers. And Germans considered that Hitler as a Führer or savior, that means a protector. Masiha saying no one who is born to protect the country. So the German people considered that Hitler was that Adolf Hitler was the Führer or that a savior. And that members of this Nazi party, they wore blue uniform. Members of that fascist party, they wore that black uniform. And members of this Nazist party, they wore that blue military uniform. And they stuck a red strip on their shoulder and wore the symbol of a swastika. It is the symbol of Aryans. So that how that this Adolf Hitler that rose into power. In the First World War, Germany had lost and it was economically ruined. That Paris peace process had forced Germany to sign the Treaty of Versailles. And according to the Treaty of Versailles, Germany had to pay $6.5 billion dollars, and a majority of its provinces were distributed among the that allied nations. So the people of Germany were extremely angry with this unjust treaty of Versailles. And in order to save Germany from this, Adolf Hitler, he had joined the National Socialist German Workers' Party in 1919, and later, it came to be called a Nazi party. And after the death of a German president Hindenburg, he became the president and established a dictatorship in Germany. And what was the philosophy of that Nazi party? That nationalism and socialism, love for one's country, and extreme nationalism means thinking about one's own country, not considering about other countries of the world. That one hopes that their country only should develop. That is an extreme nationalism. So this Hitler believed in that extreme or narrow nationalism. And socialism, that means ideology based on equality for all, both in social and economic field. So what did the Germans consider Hitler? They considered that he was a Führer or savior. And what was the uniform of that Nazi soldiers? They wore blue uniform and stuck a red strip on their shoulder and wore a symbol of swastika. And what was the main aim of this Hitler? He wanted to make a Germany number one in the world. So he wanted to make a Germany a supreme power. So he believed that Germans were the pure Aryan race. And so in order to purify that German race, and he started killing large number of Jews, gypsies. Gypsies means that nomadics, that traveling people, they did not have any permanent settlements. They move from one country to another for doing that trade, commerce, etc. And mentally challenged people. And by the end of the Second World War, he had called a large number of Jewish people in a chamber, and he opened the gas. So large number of these Jewish people that were killed and that came to be known as a Holocaust or genocide. Killing of a large number of Jewish people in a chamber, that came to be called Holocaust or genocide. And Hitler's expansionism. He wanted to expand. He wanted to make that Germany big. So for that he started attacking other countries. Then his military action against neighboring countries, and his policy of killing that certain groups of people. Which groups of people? Jewish people. That led to the Second World War. So that next one is that Nazis. The second important factor that paved that led the background of us first Second World War was that Nazism in that Germany. So how that Hitler come into power? How did Hitler come into power? In the First World War, Germany was economically ruined. According to the Treaty of Versailles, Germany had to pay $6.5 billion, and most of its territories were distributed among the member nations. So that Germans were very angry with this. So at that time, that President Hindenburg died, and then that Hitler, he became the president of Germany, and he established his dictatorship. And what was the uniform of that this Nazist blue colored uniform, and they stuck a that red strip on their shoulders, and swastika, and the symbol of a swastika. And what was his ambition? He wanted to make Germany number one in the world. He considered that Germans were the pure Aryan race. So for that, he started killing that large number of Jewish people, gypsies and mentally challenged people. And at the end of the Second World War, he had pulled a large number of that European Jews in that chamber, and he opened the gas, and a large number of Jews were killed. That came to be called a Holocaust, genocide. And Hitler's expansionism, then military actions against neighboring countries, and the policy of exterminating certain groups led to the Second World War. And that first one is that uniform of that Nazi soldiers. Second one is a swastika. These were the Jewish people, and these were the gypsies. Then third important factor that led to the Second World War was that militarism in that prepared the background for the Second World War was that militarism in that Japan. According to that Treaty of Versailles, Japan got the provinces of China, and Japan was also on the side of allied nations. And when that Germany was distributed, Japan got the provinces of China. And England and France, they had distributed many of the regions of Germany between them, and Japan was not happy with this. They were quite displeased with this. In 1920 to 21, there was a meeting at that Washington. So in that meeting, Japan had to agree to keep only 35% of that English and American naval force, and Japan also had to vacate the islands of Sakhalin and Siberia. So the Japanese young people were very angry with this, and during that time there were elections in Japan. So, and the parties supporting that militarism. Militarism means a government by the soldiers, and they got the majority. And when that League of Nations was formed, Japan was also a member of that League of Nations, but it was not a permanent member of the League of Nations. And this military nationalism of Japan, they had followed the policy of expansionism. That means they wanted to expand or increase their territories by attacking other countries, capturing other countries. And the Western countries, European countries also could not stop the imperialistic activities of Japan. Imperialism means that stronger nations capturing that weaker nation. Japan started attacking that, capturing that weaker nations. And the Western countries, European countries also could not stop these activities of Japan. So that how that militarism in Japan that prepared the background of that Second World War. So according to the Treaty of Versailles, which places Japan got the provinces of China. And England and France got many of the places of Germany, and Japan was not satisfied with that. So there was a meeting in Washington in 1921 to 22. And in that meeting, Japan had to agree to have only 35% of English and American naval force. And Japan also had to vacate the island of Sakhalin and Siberia. So the young people of Japan, they got angry with this. And during that time, there were elections in Japan, and which party got the majority? The party supporting militarism, soldiers. The government by the soldiers got the majority. And moreover, that Japan did not become a Japan was not a member of that permanent member of that League of Nations. And that Japan adopted the policy of expansionism. They started capturing other countries to expand or increase their territories. And the Western countries also, they could not stop the imperialistic activities of Japan. So during that time, in 1932, that Japan had captured Manchuria in China and established a Manchukuo government in 1932. And it also had captured Korea, Mongolia, Shantung, and some provinces of China. And it improved its relation with Germany and Italy. So in that means the First World War, it was on the side of Allied nations, and now it started and it means joined with Germany and Italy. So after that Emperor Meiji, that Emperor Hirohito, he became the that emperor, and he also encouraged that activities of Japan. Thus, Japan cut all the relations with the League of Nations in 1933. So this imperialism and military activities of this Japan was also one of the reason for that Second World War. So Japan had captured which places that Manchuria, and which government was established in that 1932, that Manchukuo government, which were the places captured by Japan: Manchuria, Korea, Mongolia, Shantung, and some of the places in China. And then it made relations with Germany and Italy. That after that Meiji, who became the emperor of Japan, that Hirohito, and he also encouraged this that imperialistic activities, and thus Japan cut all the relations with that League of Nations. So this militarism of Japan was also Japan also prepared the background for that Second World War. Then here I showed here it is Manchuria, then Korea, then Shantung, then some of the places of China. They were captured by that Japan. Then global depression of 1929 to 1932. Now we are experiencing that depression. So in 1929 to 1932, there was this all over the world depression was there. So that means at the end of the that First World War, the head of that most of the European countries, they felt that the problem means all the problems will come to an end. After the war, that problems of the world will come to an end. But suddenly, a large number of shares began to be sold in the Wall Street stock market, causing the stock market to crumble or destroy. And that was known as the Wall Street crisis by the critics on 24th October 1929. So what is that Wall Street crisis? That heads of most of the European countries felt that at the end of the First World War, the problems of the world will come to an end. But during that time, suddenly in the stock market, large number of shares began to be sold, and stock market had to face that destruction. That came to be called the Wall Street crisis by the critics on 24th October 1929. And all means it had a great impact all over the world. And means the economic condition of the whole nations was shattered or destroyed. That led to that great economic depression. Most of the countries of the world were affected by this, and even superpowers like Great Britain had to sacrifice its policy of keeping gold reserve against its currency pound. And This affected the other nations of the world, and international trade and industry also had to suffer. And even that prosperous countries like America also had to suffer. So what is that a global depression? That after the First World War, that countries of the world, heads of countries of the world, they felt that all the problems will come to an end. Suddenly, what happened in the world, in the stock market, large number of shares began to sold in that Wall Street stock market, and the whole economy was shattered. That came to be called a Wall Street crisis. So, what were the effect of this global depression? And it shook the whole world and shattered, destroyed the economic conditions of the world, and that led to that economic depression. Most of the countries of the world were affected by this. Even superpowers like America and England also had also to suffer, and Britain had to sacrifice its policy of keeping gold reserve against its currency pound, and this affected almost all the countries of the world, and international trade and industry. And prosperous nations like America also had to impose certain measures, and global trade, that international trade between other countries of the world was also reduced to half. That this is here I showed the picture, that is the picture of that global depression.